Good evening, everyone. The chairman is excused tonight. I will run the meeting until a temporary chairperson is selected. But before we get started, we have a presentation from the Albany County Comptroller, Sue Rizzo.
Good evening, distinguished members of the Albany County Legislature. Thank you for making the time to allow me to present my fourth State of the Fisc. As you know, I'm Susan Rizzo, your Albany County Comptroller. I would like to thank Mike Cavalieri, Josh Rousseau, my Chief of Staff, and Mike McNeff, who's my Chief Accountant. A special thank you to the Chair of the Legislature, Andrew Joyce, Majority Leader Dennis Feeney, Vice Chair Wanda Willingham, Minority Leader Frank Mariello, and Clerk of the Legislature, Nicole Chambers. My presentation will provide you with details on the solid financial foundation the county currently enjoys. Understanding you have a full schedule of business to conduct, if there are any questions following the video, I'll be happy to discuss and provide you with any additional information. My presentation will be on a video. Thank you again for your time.
Also, the PowerPoint is on your desk.
Start with the 2022 financial results on slide 3. The required New York State annual financial report was due April 30th. This annual update document, called the AUD, was filed on time again for my fourth consecutive year. This was a great accomplishment by my accounting team. For 2022, the county's adopted budget was $756 million. Since the revenues exceeded the budget by $56 million and expenses were controlled, thus leaving a surplus of $56 million. General fund unassigned fund balance compared year over year. Fund balance is essentially the accumulation of annual surpluses on money the county has built up for future use. These funds are used throughout the year as cash flow fluctuates each month. Therefore, fund balance does not remain idle. As you can see from this slide, the general fund unassigned fund balance increased to $95 million, a $32.2 million increase, a 51% increase. I would also like to point out the debt reserve was $15.7 million at year-end 2022, a decrease of $13.4 million, a 46% decrease. When capital projects are closed, the balance transferred to debt reserve to pay the principal and interest for that bond's debt payment. After an extensive review, we have updated the county's debt reserve and presented a schedule going forward to allocate towards future debt payments. When analyzing the unassigned fund balance, you shouldn't look at one number. You need to analyze multiple factors, one such factor being debt reserve, to help get a more accurate picture. Unassigned fund balance is a point in time, a reflection of that cash flow at that time. Why did the unassigned fund balance increase by $32.2 million, or 51%, at year-end 2022? That's a very good question. I will give you some examples. The increase was primarily due to stellar sales tax results as compared to budget. Net sales tax to the county was increased from last year by $20.7 million, or 11%. In 2021, post-pandemic, our citizens are returning to dining establishments, entertainment venues, and other group events, spurring a surge in sales tax collections. In 2022, inflation is a substantial contributor. These unprecedented increases are projected to not continue at the pace sales tax has increased over the past 2 years. Another example why the increase in fund balance is due to gains from the sale of tax acquisition properties, which was $5.4 million. Hotel occupancy tax has also increased by $2.5 million or 43%, back to pre-COVID levels. It took 3 years for hotels to recuperate. Slide 9 is regarding total interest income pertaining to all funds. The Commissioner of Management and Budget, as the Chief Investing Officer, worked in conjunction with the Comptroller's Office to substantially increase interest income. Interest rates are higher now than in the past 11 years. We are collectively investing every dollar, creating cash flow analysis, and reviewing bank balances to maximize interest income. For the first 5 months of 2023, for all funds, we are at $4.16 million in interest income, whereas last year was at $3.75 million for the whole year. That is a significant increase, and we have 7 months to go. Slide 10 is regarding debt reserve. I would like to point out that our debt reserve will go down to $8.4 million in 2023 as compared to $15.7 million in 2022 as we use the reserve to pay principal and interest of some of our bonds. But our debt payments continue and our reserves are diminishing. Albany County has a solid financial foundation. In slide number 12, I would like to highlight Albany County's long-term debt. As you can see, the county's total debt has declined since I took office. Again, we work in conjunction with management and budget to only borrow funds needed in the year for the year as interest rates go up. Included in 2022 is $16.2 million for Raise the Age renovations at the County Juvenile Detention Center. This is a coordinated effort with DASNY as a consortium of several municipalities, including Albany County. Slide number 13 is regarding public administration. I would like to elaborate on my duties as the public administrator. The Comptroller represents people that die intestate without a will, or if a descendant has no one to unravel their estate. An emotional job, as relatives sometimes do not get along or houses are left many times in a hoarder situation, which makes it difficult to sell the properties until I have them cleaned out. There are many misnomers regarding this part of my job. The heirs get the proceeds after Medicaid liens and back taxes are paid. If there are no heirs, New York State receives the proceeds. It is one of the hardest yet most rewarding jobs I have ever done. It is also above and beyond my responsibilities as the Albany County Comptroller, as well as serving as an elected official. I report to the Surrogate Court, and this is outside the purview of the county. Slide 14 identifies some public administration results. I sold 7 houses in 2022. Average sale price, $105,000. Total residential sales, $740,000. 2023 full market value, $1,207,000. Increased value over sale price, $467,000. Percentage increase, 63%. In 2022, I collected past due taxes totaling $69,380. In 2023, I already collected $79,913 in past due taxes, and I paid off $190,360 in Medicaid liens. Slide number 15, audit highlights. First, asset forfeiture audits resulted in the migration of the expanding of forfeiture funds to the Comptroller's Office. This, along with other steps helped bring the seized asset programs in the county into compliance with all state and federal requirements. 2, during the forfeiture audit, it was discovered that the CFA, Schedule of Expenditures of Federal Awards, did not include forfeiture funds, which are required to be classified as federal assistance. It was then discovered that some SAM.gov registrations, the vehicle to receive federal funds, were expired and terminated employees were not removed as authorized users when they separated from county service. 3, an audit of accounts receivable identified a substantial amount of receivables that were able to be migrated to the county's centralized accounting system and led to the development of a written policy and procedure related to recording, collecting, and writing off accounts receivable. 4, audit of fixed assets resulted in substantial corrections to accounting records and led to the development of a written policy and procedure related to the life cycle of fixed assets. 5, the correctional facility annual cash audit related to inmate funds is performed to ensure compliance with New York State regulations. 6, other post-employment benefits, OPEB. After analyzing other like-sized counties, it appeared our OPEB liability was overstated. Working with the Commissioner of Human Resources and an actuary, we found that our future OPEB liability was overstated by $180 million. The correction in OPEB and creating a fund policy and debt policy will help Albany County obtain a better credit rating in the future. The higher the credit rating, the lower the bond interest rate. I want to stress again, the higher the credit rating, the lower the bond interest rate. Conclusion. When looking at the strong unassigned general fund balance, long-term debt declining, sales tax increases, and our current strong credit rating of AA stable, the county has a solid financial foundation. Working together with the county executive and the other elected officials, we are fortunate to be in the position we are currently in. Don't forget, not too long ago in 2020, the year of the pandemic, Albany County literally ran out of cash. We had to borrow $40 million in December 2020. In the beginning of 2020, although we had an unassigned fund balance of $49.6 million, our outflows of cash were greater than the inflow of cash at that point in time. In 2021, the unassigned general fund balance was utilized to help the county navigate continued financial stress caused by the pandemic. At year-end 2022, although we have a healthy fund balance, tread lightly when spending some of these funds. Currently, the county's unassigned general fund balance is 14.8% of its 2022 adopted budget. This is in line with the county's fund balance policy, which targets between 10% and 15% of the total general fund adopted budget, with a target of 12.5%. As a reminder, Albany County General Fund has been funding the Shaker Place Rehabilitation and Nursing Center. Revenues have increased considerably due to occupancy maximization, which resulted in a steady decline in net operating loss. As a result, we are closer to sustainability. Another reason for an increase in our future credit rating. Something to consider. If the county has ample cash, consider not borrowing for all capital projects and use general fund surplus. For example, if we didn't borrow $15 million, we would save $5 million in future interest payments. Something to think about for the future. Thank you for your time.
If anyone has questions, Sue will come up and answer them.
Yes, Mr. Grimm.
Thank you, for your presentation. Very well done. Appreciate it. On the question of asset forfeitures, what specifically are you obliged to do as a county controller? Do you have to sign off on these expenditures? Is that changed, or could you shed a little light on how that actually works?
In the charter, forfeiture funds are always supposed to be sent to the controller's office and be approved just like any other expenditure within Albany County. So we established the policy that everything now goes to my office and gets approved before any forfeiture funds are released.
Okay. And another question, if I might. These 95 million was the fund balance. Is that a snapshot at one point in time?
Correct.
And that's why the unassigned general fund is 32 million. Well, how do you get those two figures?
So the unassigned fund balance is 95 million. If you looked at the income and expenses, you would see that we made 56 million, but it's a moving target. Fund balance is a point in time. At the end of 2022, the fund balance was $95 million. Today, it will be different.
Are you able to know at any one time what that fund balance is, or is that a difficult calculation?
That's a difficult calculation. My chief accountant's here, Mike McNeff. He records, a lot of it has to take into consideration your liabilities. So we don't record those till the end of the year, whether it's payables, receivables, and so that's why our fund balance, we don't recalculate it every month.
Thank you.
Mr. Burdock?
Thank you, Madam Controller. The debt reserve went from 29-1 to 2022 to 15-7 in 2022. Was that a result of your actions with management and budget to move money out of the debt reserve to retire debt earlier?
So the debt reserve that was established a couple of years ago, you'll see, I think it was 34 million. That debt reserve, when we retire our capital, it goes into the reserve, and we need to utilize it to pay principal and interest of that specific bond. So we have a schedule, because obviously if the interest is not as much as what we have in debt reserve, we can only spend the amount that's on the bond. So you can never pay off a bond. So we use the reserve to pay the principal and interest, and we have a schedule over 10 years to how much can be utilized on a yearly basis.
Okay, but that was an affirmative effort on the county's behalf to to induce long-term savings.
Well, when I started, the capital projects weren't necessarily closed. So we were done with a project. So when a project is closed, you put the money in debt reserve. Management, budget, and I worked well together to finalize these closed projects. And that's when we you have to utilize it for principal and interest.
Okay. Question number 2. Total long-term debt includes $16.2 million attributed to raise the age. Those are for the capital costs for the youth centers, mandated renovations.
So it was approved.
Yep.
That was a consortium with several different municipalities. Albany County is responsible for controlling that money. It's kept at DASNY. We have a draw request every month. It will enhance our building that we own. We own the youth facility.
But that's amortized with the revenues from whatever it is, 5 or 6 different counties.
Right, there's a calculation of how majority is paid by the state, and then each municipality pays a small percentage.
So the debt resides as a long-term cost of the county, even though it's being amortized by revenues from each of the counties. So,
Well, just to be clear, and I can get back to you more about this, because DASNY did the loan, but Albany County actually monitors the loan. DASNY oversees it. We actually process the payments every month. It's our building, so that's why it's included in that debt calculation.
but it's not an economic liability for just Albany County.
Correct.
It's for consortium of counties that are participating.
Correct, and majority is paid by the state, correct?
The last thing, the OPEB audit, I must have missed it when you said what that acronym was. What does OPEB stand for?
I know. OPEB is the post-employment benefits other than pensions, so it's our medical benefits.
Oh, that's the huge number.
Right, so that's Gatsby 75, so we were required to report our medical. But when it was reported, it's a liability for the future, and it was overstated by $180 million. This will clearly help us work on our credit rating.
Okay, and I was going to ask about that because that's what I thought it was. Can you show us, or at some point in time, get to us, the Audit and Finance Committee, or however you would distribute it, how that number is tracking over the last 4 or 5 years, including 2022? Because we changed our pension benefit, or not our pension, but our health policy to go from a 20-year vesting to a 15-year vesting. And that should drive that number up. So I would like to see what the projected cost increases are by tracking that number, which is audited on an annual basis over
I'll give you the actuals.
That would be
a
wonderful.
period of time,
That
not
would be
going
wonderful.
forward, but the actuals for a period of time.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Great job.
Thank you.
Good evening, thank
Good
you,
evening.
Madam
Thank you.
For your report. I just wanted to go back to the asset forfeiture issue that you brought up, and you let us know that the funds have now been transferred to your office as opposed to, let's say, the DA or the county sheriff. So are requests for those funds made to you rather than to them? And that's the first question. And if, depending on how it's done, are they involved in the decision making or making recommendations to you as to how the funds are distributed?
So just like any claim that is submitted to the controller's office, each department is responsible for that expense. So they are responsible to make sure that it's permissible, or they have funds to utilize. But because of what has happened with this audit, there were a lot of impermissibilities. They're responsible to make sure they don't submit impermissibilities, but we audit it to make sure they don't. So we had a federal and a state audit. It's very complex, and we're working together but they make the recommendation of what the money is to be spent on, and it has to be spent on public, what's the word?
Public service.
Public service for our police.
Okay, so bottom line is they are still involved in the process.
Absolutely.
You, it's upon your final approval, but they make recommendations for when they get requests.
Right, the controller's office never decides what you spend the money on. You only make sure
Okay, I
that
just
you
want to
spend
be
it on the
clear.
right thing.
I just wanted to be clear,
Yes.
because the understanding I had initially was that, and this is just my misunderstanding, obviously, that you were now deciding. But,
Verify.
I just wanted to clear that.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks for the concise presentation. Very much appreciated. Just a quick question. You mentioned collecting about $76,000 in property taxes this year, I think $69,000 last year. Was that related specifically to the intestate work, or is that like Jeff Neal and Commissioner?
Oh, no, Jeff Neal and the land bank
That's
is a
awesome.
much bigger
Yeah.
component. I, as a public administrator, as a one-man show, have been able to work on these assets, and collect money for Albany
So
County.
these are from the ones
Just the
that
estates.
you're administering. Okay, great, thank you. The other question I just had is, and again, this is a little bit of a layman's piece here. You know, you're showing that year to date, we're about $4.16 million in interest on monies. Assumably that's as a result of the money market options that are out there with the rising interest rates. With that in mind, and we may not, but could you answer, do we have any debt service or debt instruments or credit facilities that are also variable in interest rate that would outpace those or stay? In other words, do we have any debt that is also going up as a result of everything we have to fix coupon and doesn't change until we secure new debt?
So bonds are established when we do a bond. The interest rates, we can't make more money than what the rate is on the bond. It would be arbitrage. Because the investments weren't that great initially before I started, and we work with management budget, we maximize on every dollar that we actually invest. So we're now approaching the fine line of arbitrage. So we're still able to invest our money because arbitrage is for the period of time of the note, and since we didn't really invest in the earlier part, we can maximize on making 5% on a note where we might have had a 2.7% interest rate on the bond. So we're utilizing all the bond proceeds and investing them until they're actually spent. If that answers your question.
It does, and then additionally, are we able to use our general fund monies in those same money market options and make interest on those as well?
Yes.
Is there any restriction on that?
No, so we invest now all our money. We have a cash flow. Management budget does a monthly or weekly cash flow. So we make sure that we invest all our money, and we know when we need to pull the money. So we invest in a vehicle called New York Class Prime. We also invest with M&T Bank. We have CDs. We do 3, 6 month different CDs. We have a ladder. It's a very complex calculation. Dave Riley is the Chief Investment Officer, but works instrumentally with our office because we have control of the cash.
So is there, so we kind of have a honeymoon in a sense until we have to borrow again, right? Where we're able to take advantage of that additional money available.
Well, my suggestion to you all is that we shouldn't borrow. We should use our general fund money because we can save that interest rate, because interest rates are a lot higher than they were, 3 or 4 years ago, or even, a year ago. So that would be my suggestion, because the fund balance is pretty great, and you have to decide on what you want to do with the fund balance that's over the fund policy percentage.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that that's your advice, because I think, we're all seeing it in the economy here on the private sector, and I think government has to follow suit, that we have to tighten our belts and
For the
make a
future.
decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here. Early in the presentation, there was a slide where the adopted budget, the revenue expenses was $756 million, right? And then the actual expenses were in line with the budget. But the revenues were $812 million. So that was a surplus of $56 million. And then the presentation runs through some categories of where revenues in 2022 exceeded 2021. For example, the net sales tax growth. But am I correct that some of those increases in revenue from 21 to 22 were included in the budget number, in the 756?
No, the budget did not include the substantial increase in sales tax. So when the budget was done, we didn't know what this is done by management budget, we didn't know what the end of 21 budget was, where you can see it was a substantial increase of 20-some%. And then in 22, it was another 11%. So no, the budget did not identify those huge increases that the country actually was able to get.
Okay, because that's really, my question was, the 56 million surplus, what are the main drivers of that? Are they the net sales tax growth? And then what I see there's the hotel occupancy, but that's only a $2.5 million increase from 21 to 22.
Right, and then the sale of assets that the real property has sold assets, so they made another extra $5 million. And there was also, if you wanted to get down to every nickel, there was additional federal grant money that was received that was not budgeted.
Okay, and what percentage of the $56 million surplus was the federal grant money?
Not as big as the percent for the sales tax. It might have just been 5 or 6%. The sales tax is what was the bigger driving driver, and even though it increased year over year by 11%, I think the budget there might have been a greater increase because we we didn't know what the 21 number was. 21 number was much higher. When you do your budget, you don't have the year-end numbers.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
In addition to that, did we not receive ARPA money in '22? Did that contribute in any way to this surplus that we had?
It doesn't have anything to do with the surplus, but it does help with the interest income.
The interest?
The interest income. We invest all money, every dollar,
Okay, so.
but it's not included in the budget.
Revenue.
It's not included in the budget for 756 million. ARPA is outside of that.
Okay, so so the only table that you have there where I can look and say ARPA money is included is on the interest table that you showed, not in the revenue that was received in 2022.
Correct.
It's a different, and where do you capture that?
It's in a different fund. We identify it separately,
Okay,
so we can track it, all 59 million.
thank you.
Yes, Ms. Wu.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Back to the forfeiture money. So if I'm to understand this correctly, the forfeiture money, which is with, let's say, the sheriff's department and also the DA's office, I'm just trying to get a very clear understanding, so where I'm wrong, please correct me. So they still receive, let's say, requests for funds from some agency or whatever, okay? They then send, if they approve and say, okay, you know, I find this something to be worthwhile, they then send that request over to the
Finance.
controller's office. And so who then decides? You decide whether they're requesting about it? And if that is so, and your answer is no, that means that individual, so you do have the last say, it doesn't matter if it's a community request or not. I guess this is.
Okay, there's rules about the seizure funds, and so my chief auditor, who was instrumental with this audit that was ongoing, and it's impermissible to use seizure funds for community activities, state seizure funds. When some things were used to help the younger individuals to keep them off the streets, I met with the state controller's office, and they said clearly it's impermissible. There's a legal opinion that says that. The federal can utilize certain $25,000 that they can actually utilize for things that they feel are needed in our community. But there's rules, and it's very clear, and we can call the federal government. They have a line that you can verify if it is permissible. It's the permissibility that is the greater question. We're not arbitrary. There's rules.
So again, you still have the final say and deny or approve. And-
According to the rules.
And the $25,000, you said that's state money, federal money?
That's
And where's
federal, the federal side, and there's a printout of what the money can be spent on. And that federal side, they have an allocation of $25,000, and you have to read what exactly you can spend just $25,000 on,
So when you say 25,000, you can buy case or total?
total, for the year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Controller?
Yes.
Just let me, I think I understand what you just said. Tell me if this is accurate. The sheriff and the DA still are the decision makers as to how the money is spent.
Correct.
You are the decision maker as to whether or not they meet the federal or the state guidelines.
Right.
Nobody, no other department head or the county executive or any other elected official can access those funds. The sheriff and the DA are still the primary.
Responsible, right. I'm the watchdog, a
Right.
bulldog. And yes, we will abide by what the rules are.
I know that.
Oh, it was confusing the way it went back and forth.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Not a bulldog.
Yes?
In these numbers, I see two things that look very positive. I want to make sure I understand them. One is the surplus on the sales tax from 2022. Now, in 2023 so far, is that trend continuing? Are we exceeding our projected sales revenue in 2023?
That's a good question. First quarter, yes. Second quarter, if I look over year, it's actually less. So we're tracking this because I don't think that increase trend is going to continue. So we started out the quarter, it was greater than last year's budget. And now it's less. It's a negative. It's less than last year's
So at
budget.
the end of the year, we don't really know yet whether we're going to have sales revenue that exceeds what we had projected for the full year or not.
We're looking that it will probably hit budget, but this is being monitored regularly by both management and budget and office, because that's a large dollar amount of our revenue for Albany County.
Okay, now the other, I'm not sure what page it is, but the general fund unassigned fund balance. You see that going up year over year. Well, no, not always. Almost 50 million in 2019, down to 35 in 2020, up to 62 in 2021, and up to 95 in 2022. Now, is that the number that relates to, at the end of your dollar in your talk, you, I think, said we have a fund balance of 14 point something %?
We have a fund balance of 95 million. That's 14.8% of the adopted budget for 2023.
And what's the phrase you use for that 14.8%? What do you call it? That percentage number as opposed to...
So our fund balance has a maximum dollar percentage of 15%, and the legislators can decide if they want to spend money between 12.5% and 15%. And that's where I suggested maybe we utilize that money instead of borrowing. We use that to pay for capital.
That percentage number that's, you know, the sweet spot is between 12.5 and 15. What's the term for that? It's not fund, it's not reserve, which is a dollar number, and it's not unassigned fund balance. What's the term we use
The
for that?
15%?
Yeah.
It's an allocation of your fund policy of making sure that you have enough money set aside, and you use percentages as a target. So the legislators negotiated 15%, and then they negotiated between 10 and 12.5%, that after 12.5% they can actually utilize some of the funds.
And what do we call that percentage?
What do they call that percentage?
It's because, I mean, I'm seeing...
I mean, it's an
unassigned fund
allocation.
balance,
It's a,
debt reserve. I'm seeing a lot of terms which one could think, oh, well, that's what the 15% is, but it's obviously a different term that's not on the slides, and I'm just trying to figure out...
Okay, let me
what
give you
is
an
that.
example. If I make so much money and I want to decide to save some money in my deferred comp, I personally try to use 15% as the percentage for me, the allocation I like to save money. I think the county kind of used the same, 15% is a good number to make sure that our fund balance, so we have enough money to if anything happens like the pandemic. It's an allocation, it's a percent allocation.
I think piggy bank is the official term.
Piggy bank, I mean, I don't,
Well, I mean, it's not unassigned,
Oh, it is on.
it's not
no,
unassigned.
it's unassigned fund balance, that's the dollar amount, 95 million. The fund balance indicates, I can get you a copy of the fund balance. The fund balance indicates that the Albany County would like to keep at least 15% in an unassigned fund balance, which equates to about 95 million. But they have the option to spend between 12.5 and 15% if they'd like. I say proceed with caution.
Right, I apologize. I'm just trying to figure out, there should be a term for that percentage number. Is it fund balance? Is
No,
that-
percent is an allocation. So, I can talk to you more on this offline if you like, and actually show you the fund balance, and actually it stipulates the allocation percentage.
I find, I understand the allocation, I understand that there's that sweet spot, I just thought that there was a technical term for that percentage number. As it went up and down, you would say the X is now 12%, or the X is now 15%.
The allocation that the Albany County would like to save. Albany County would like to save 15% of their adopted budget. To keep in a reserve, so we have enough money if anything goes south, if we don't get our sales tax. If
I
we
would
have enough
suggest we figure out a term.
allocation is the term. 15% allocation. I will get you the fund balance.
It's 15%, the X is 12%, or whatever.
Can I have everyone's attention? After Allison, we have to start the meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
How's
This
it
is
going?
very, this is great the way you presented this. I really like this. Very, it's easy to understand. I did have a question. In 2019, the state passed internet sales tax collection, and also they eliminated the sales tax exemption for energy service companies. Have you seen that to be a helpful source of revenue? Can you differentiate, those things coming in? I don't obviously know how it works on your end, so just a brief explanation.
Right, so New York State takes the top 20 of where are we receiving our sales tax. What are the top 20 places? And you see that the top 5 are pretty much the same across the board, automobiles, you'll see internet, things of that nature. So yes, we do get the internet sales tax. I know that was a question in the past. Have we been getting internet sales tax? And the answer is yes. And then you have big box sales tax, and you sometimes can't distinguish between a Walmart, whether it's internet or Walmart, the big box, which is fine, you're still getting it. But it is reported, and we do look at to see what the trend is of what we're receiving our sales tax from, if that answers your question.
Yeah, and it couldn't have been at a better time. Unfortunately, we did have COVID, but everybody started shopping at
Right.
the time.
But we do get the tax.
Yes.
If anybody has any other questions, feel free to email me, and I hope I answered your question, and I'll get back to you regarding the fund balance allocation percent. Thank you.
As I stated before, the chairman is excused. I will run the public forum. The legislative rules of order allow for a period of public comment before the monthly meeting. The rules state that speakers may not ask questions of the legislature, and the legislature may not ask questions of the speakers. I will begin by calling the roll. Beston. Bergdorf. Chapman. Clay. Clary. Collins. Camiso. Cunningham. Demolowitz. Drake. Efakoro. Ethier. Feeney. Fine. Grimm. Andrew Joyce. Ray Joyce. Kuhn. Lakakis. Lockhart. Muriello. Mayo. McLaughlin. McLean Lane. Miller. O'Brien. Joe? I know he's here. Purley. Peter. Pulaski. Reedy. Reinhardt. Ricard. Rosano. Simpson. Smith. Tunney. Ward. Whalen. Willingham. I know she's here too. I have 33 present. We have 10 speakers. They will be allowed 3 minutes each. First speaker, Carol Waterman.
You'll tell me when to start. Oh, now. All right, let's go back to the early stages of COVID, which was a vaccination nightmare, trying to get one, trying to find out where they were, etc. Now, I am not computer literate. I trade stocks and bonds online, but I had no idea how to use all this stuff. Anyway, we learned here when Lynn Jackson spoke that Zarina, who is also here, had called her to, for whatever age group she was in, she called her to let her know to come on in. Well, it turns out, even though a lot of us think of Lynn as pretty special, she called everyone, okay? And my pharmacist in Guilderland, and he's good and I like him, but let me assure you that he never called me, despite the fact that I have the triple whammy, still do, for dying from COVID, okay? And also, they make a lot of money off me because of my various illnesses. But nobody called me, or anybody else, by the way. Now, if I didn't live so far from Lincoln, you better believe I would be grateful to have Lincoln as my pharmacy. And also, I know Zarina's here, Zarina as my pharmacist. Now, here's why. I brought Exhibit A. Okay. This little thing that you may not be able to see from the back, which is partly my point, this little thing contains an antibiotic for people with certain eye problems, which I have, okay? And it costs almost as much as liquid gold. So I called to renew it, and my pharmacist, who let me be really clear, I really like, he said it was discontinued. There is no substitute for this, okay? So I was, of course, pretty upset. Well, my pharmacist was able to get 2 more of these from a different price chopper, but that was it, okay? That was all I was going to get. I called many pharmacists near me, got the same thing, wasn't going to help. But I knew all along, because I come here, okay, I knew all along who I should call. So I called Zarina. She told me she would look into it and call me right back. And generally when people say that, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, sure. Okay, but she did. She called me, okay. And she found out that the name had changed on the product. And she was able to get it, okay? And this made a big difference to me. Then she said, because I hadn't thought about it, well, do you have a drug plan? Because this little thing is very expensive. And I said, oh, I actually do. So we looked into it together, and I got what I needed at a reasonable price. Now.
Time is up, Karen.
Oh, I'm sorry. My time is up. I have been informed. Okay, thank you.
Bob Stevens.
Good evening. I'm Bob Stevens, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the legislation to provide funding for the Guilderland, Hilltowns, and Colony fire training facilities. I'm a deputy fire coordinator in Albany County, and I had the pleasure to address this body last month when you passed legislation to provide property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and EMS personnel. And I want to thank you for that support and that effort. This evening, you have before you a proposed legislation to provide funding to upgrade and enhance 3 of the county's fire training facilities. All of the 42 fire departments in Albany County can benefit from this, as well as law enforcement and EMS agencies throughout the county. The tax exemption for volunteer firefighters that you passed will serve as a tool to help us recruit and retain more volunteers. That is a good and necessary thing. Now, after recruiting more firefighters, be they paid or volunteer, they have to be trained. Have adequate training facilities is of paramount importance to their training. The Colony and Guilderland fire training facilities have been in existence for more than 50 years and have suffered from thousands of hours of intense training. Both the existing fire towers in Guilderland and Colony had served beyond their useful life and were condemned and must be replaced. Now, your funding will kickstart the necessary replacement. My thanks to County Executive McCoy, Legislative Chair Joyce, and this legislative body for your support. And I want to thank Sheriff Apple and County Fire Coordinator Paris for their support. Chief Paris has spent countless hours advocating with federal, state, and government officials for funding to upgrade, enhance the fire training facilities in the county. He has met with much success. And I know that he knows that much work still has to be done. We will continue to advocate with federal, state, and local officials to secure additional funding for our training facilities on behalf of the emergency services personnel of Albany County. And again, I want to thank you for your support.
Paul Miller.
Good evening. I'm Paul Miller. I'm the Deputy Fire Coordinator in Albany County, and I want to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and also thank you again, as Bob did, about last month passing the exemption for volunteer firefighters. I'm here to ask you your vote in favor of Resolution 230. The fire training facilities in Albany County are in urgent need of repair and upgrading. Most of the county fire training towers are well past their useful life. These facilities are used to provide training for all the county firefighters, both career and volunteer. They are especially important for firefighters who have never experienced actual fires or live burn training. This training cannot be completed in a classroom and is a critical part of New York State Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2 classes. These classes help prepare firefighters for becoming interior firefighters. For these reasons, I ask that you vote in favor of Resolution 230 tonight. Thank you.
Chief Gerald Paris.
No, I'm not the chief.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for allowing me to come address the body. In reference to the fire training centers throughout the county, it's a shame that these centers have gotten to the point they are, but just to give you a quick little history. The Colony Fire Training Center, myself, Chief Stevens, we've worked very hard at trying to ascertain where we can get funds, visit the different state, federal agencies to ascertain and grab these funds to get to these different sites. The Colony Fire Training Center is used over 40,000 man-hours a year. The State Fire Academy, to compare the two, the State Fire Academy is a little over 50,000 man-hours a year of usage. The Guilderland Fire Training Center, about 5,000 man-hours a year at Guilderland. So with that being said, the man-hours and the amount of use that these facilities are actually being, it's putting more of a wear and tear on these facilities than they were ever built for. Just to give you an idea how much of this wear and tear it is. Albany County in New York State, less the 5 boroughs in New York City, Westchester County, downstate, Suffolk and Nassau County that really doesn't participate in the state fire outreach training program. Albany County is ranked number 4 in the state for outreach fire training hours that are used in the whole state of New York. I have lobbied very hard to increase our hours. We got an increase of another 650 instructor hours a year to be used within Albany County. It brings us up to 2,650 hours a year of instructor training. With that being said, the instructor training and getting those extra hours, we're rated number 2 in the state of New York for outreach pool hours that are used. These are hours from other counties that don't use their hours. We have tapped into those hours to make sure that our firefighters here in Albany County get the training that they deserve and the training that they need and the training that they want to train our people. Now, I want to thank everybody here for passing that resolution last month on the tax exempt for volunteer firefighters. Just so you folks know, so far this year, we've had 88 firefighter background checks in Albany County to join volunteer fire departments within Albany County. 88 new applicants to learn to be firefighters that want to dedicate their time. So with that being said, the importance of these fire training centers, and I'm going to probably, you're going to see me again because I need to revisit for the Bethlehem Fire Training Center, but this will help for the future of Albany County. These new fire training centers that are being built, the centers are already there, but we're going to upgrade them with brand new buildings, will last another 20, 25 years. So for Colony and Gildan, we're not putting a Band-Aid on a problem. You folks, with your help, your concern and efforts as the legislature, the county exec's office, having that open ear for us and actually listening to us. All this transpired in a matter of 4 months. So with that being said, thank you very, very much. I will be here after if anybody has any questions. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Edward Pilagatti.
Good evening. My name is Edward Pizzagatti. I've spoke here before. I spoke years ago. As going on 50 years as a member of the Medusa Volunteer Fire Company in August, my father brought me in 1973, right after I turned 16. I want to thank you very much for Local Law B. We have 2 new members in our fire company that their background checks are being processed right now also. And also as a 22-year employee of the Albany County Department of Public Works, in advance, I'm thanking you for support of not only our contract, but the General Services contract. And as the newly appointed Local 801 president, I would like to extend my invitation to our picnic this Thursday. It's the Local 801 picnic, and if anybody's interested, please see me afterwards. And thank you very much for all that you do.
Zarina Jalal.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Zarina Jalal, the supervising pharmacist at Lincoln Pharmacy. I know I've been here several times in the past couple of months to talk to you about my concerns of the pharmacy at the Department of Mental Health. Today, I want to put a face to the people that and the reason I come back up here each time. John, do you mind standing? In the back is John Esmond. I met John in 2017 when his wife Gail transferred her prescriptions to Lincoln after the Rite Aid on South Pearl Street closed. You can sit down, John. John followed suit a couple of years later when his pharmacy, the Walgreens on North Pearl Street, closed. And then when Genoa opened at the Department of Mental Health, John trusted his physicians and had his mental health meds transferred there. One of John's prescriptions is not covered out of pocket. And this past month, when John went to fill his prescription, the cost of the medication went from $40 to $1,200. That's a 3,000% increase. When you moved on this contract in December, many of you pointed out the extreme level of care the patients at the Department of Mental Health required. John is not one of those people. In the years that I have known him, John has proven himself to be a strong advocate, not only for himself, but for Gail. So when he got the new quote for his medication, the first thing John did was reach out to me at Lincoln Pharmacy because he knew he could trust me. And you know, he didn't ask for a quote. He asked if there was something logical that happened in the marketplace that would explain this ridiculous price increase. In case you were wondering, there was not. What John experienced was a classic example of what companies will do when they have cornered the market. John knew enough to ask questions and to advocate for himself, but many of the patients at the Department of Mental Health are not in that position. In December, you also promised to push for change in the RFP process. I know that many of you were unsettled by the concerns I raised aside from the RFP process and that I continue to raise. But to date, the RFP process remains the same, and the other concerns I've also raised have largely been ignored. I hope that you don't wait for that change, especially in the RFP process, to come to you in the form of legislation. I need you to ask for it, to insist that community members like myself have input in it. And also, you all need to log into BidNet Direct and actually just try to use that website to understand how impossible it is to navigate. Because in 6 to 8 months, that contract is going to go out to bid again. And if that process isn't changed and the concerns I have raised aside from that process aren't addressed, then you are telling people like John that it is okay to be exploited by the people you've entrusted with his care and by the $400 billion company that you have invited into this community through the broken RFP process. Thank you.
Tom Ellis.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Ellis. I live on North Pine Avenue in the city of Albany. And I hope all is well with all of you tonight. Today I call upon this legislature to enact a resolution in opposition to the State Department of Environmental Conservation's recommendation in its recently released draft solid waste management plan to substantially increase the spreading of sewage sludge on agricultural lands in New York State. And in addition, to urge the state legislature to pass a law to ban the spreading of sewage sludge on farmland in New York State. Maine passed such a law last year. Sewage sludge has a wide variety of toxic substances, including PFAS chemicals, that when spread on soil get into the water, land, plants, animals, and people. It is my view that the DEC and the state government do not know and choose not to know how widespread and serious the health risks are with the dispersal of PFAS substances that bioaccumulate in animals and people. On June 1, the Sierra Club's Atlantic chapter issued a report titled, "Sewage Sludge Fertilizer Contaminates Farms with Toxic PFAS." I'm going to leave a copy of that here, and I'd like it to be included in the official record of tonight's meeting. The Atlantic chapters asserts that in 2017, New York State government tested sewage sludge for PFAS at only 8 of the hundreds of wastewater sewage treatment plants in New York State. The DEC found high levels of PFAS. They did not notify the sewage treatment plant operators of this. They have not tested the soils where the sewage sludge was spread, nor have they notified the property owners where the sewage sludge was spread of the contamination. It's my view that the state government is mostly ignoring the emerging PFAS science. DEC has a nonchalant attitude about what I believe is a major health threat, despite asserting that it's on top of the situation. It's my view that DEC is committing regulatory malpractice and that we are all at risk. It is also my belief that any thorough testing of freshwater fish caught in New York State would show widespread and high PFAS contamination, and this would force the state health department to issue a freshwater fish eating ban statewide, and that would create a political earthquake in New York State. We have a right to know and a duty to determine how widespread and severe the PFAS contamination is and what the health consequences are. Thank you.
Patricia Sibilia.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Patricia Sibilia with the League of Women Voters of Albany County. This morning, our Vote 411, our online voter guide, went live for the primaries. If you're not aware, Vote 411 allows every single candidate running. We reach out, and we try and reach out via email so that candidates can actually answer questions that they, in their own words, we will post, we do not edit, so that they can put themselves forward with the public. The public can then go in, put in their address, see exactly what will be on their ballot, and see those candidates with their responses. If a candidate does not respond, it will say the candidate has not responded. It'll be clear that they chose not to participate. We never want to see that happen. This is a local election year. To get information about local candidates is not easy for the average citizen, not at all. First of all, the media cannot cover the number of races that are out there, and every single one of those races are so important. I totally believe that the reason why I joined the League of Women Voters was because the best way you can make a difference in your community is locally. You can reach out to the candidates who are your neighbors and have conversations with them. And with this, we really believe that Vote 411 is the best way to start that education process. So right now, we went live. We're missing actually email addresses because the Board of Elections doesn't carry email addresses. They carry your formal addresses. But we're looking for email addresses for several candidates, including those from the conservative parties. We traditionally like to work with the parties because that's where we can get information about the candidates most easily. But we're missing some information from Democrats, and we're missing some information for conservative candidates. I would suggest that you all understand that Vote 411 is a great tool for all candidates. It allows you to reach those specific voters in your district. So please help to promote in any way you can the use of Vote 411 by the public and by your candidates that are in your parties so that we can have educated people going to the polls. Thank you for your time tonight.
Jeannie Orr.
Good evening, I'm Jeannie Orr with Capital District Tobacco-Free Communities. They're funded by the New York State Department of Health Tobacco Control Program. And tonight I just want to share with you a resolution approved just last week by the U.S. Conference of Mayors that supports eliminating all flavored tobacco products, including flavored e-cigs, menthol cigarettes, and flavored cigars. And among the facts cited, the resolution notes these. Whereas flavored tobacco products appealed to are a major cause of youth and young adult tobacco use. 8 out of 10 youth who have ever used a tobacco product initiated with a flavored product. Whereas cigars come in hundreds of kid-friendly flavors like banana smash, chocolate brownie, and cherry dynamite, and as a result are the second most popular tobacco product among youth and are especially popular among Black youth. Whereas menthol in particular cools and numbs the throat and reduces irritation, making menthol cigarettes an appealing option for youth who are initiating tobacco use. Whereas the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has concluded that menthol cigarettes lead to increased smoking initiation among youth and young adults, greater addiction, and decreased success in quitting smoking. Whereas research estimates that prohibiting the sale of menthol cigarettes would prevent as many as 654,000 smoking-caused deaths, including over 255 deaths among Black Americans over time, and would eliminate the disparity in lung cancer deaths between Black Americans and other racial groups. Whereas 360 localities across the country restrict the sale of flavored tobacco products. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the United States Conference of Mayors supports prohibiting all flavored tobacco products. Now, there is strong, broad support for eliminating flavored tobacco products and stopping tobacco companies from using these products to inject kids in certain communities. This support goes beyond the Conference of Mayors. In April, Siena Research Institute polled adults in New York and found that 57% favor a ban on menthol-flavored tobacco products. Honestly, I'm surprised. I think the number should be higher because locally we've met with community members and there's pretty much a consensus. Nearly every smoker, former smoker, and non-smoker we've spoken to agreed that flavored tobacco products should not be available to addict young people. And we've heard from plenty of people who are desperate to quit. One nurse whose husband has been addicted to menthol cigarettes for years said she was desperate for him. She said that if menthol cigarettes were banned, he would probably switch to regular tobacco-flavored cigarettes, hate them, and probably quit. As I mentioned the last time I spoke before this body, we're currently compiling a report based on the information we collected by visiting tobacco retailers located near schools in the city of Albany, including what flavored tobacco products continue to be sold and in what ways those products are being marketed. And this report will also include the kind of things communities across the state and the country have been doing to address this problem and to promote health equity. And we welcome conversation to explore a path toward that goal. Thank you.
Simona Fish.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Simona Fish. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for Capital District Tobacco-Free Communities. I'm here today to follow up on what my colleague Jeannie just spoke about, but I'm focusing on the use of menthol cigarettes in the African American community, specifically in our Albany community. It's an issue that bears repeating because it's an issue of health equity. 86% of African American smokers in New York State smoke menthol cigarettes, compared to just 29% of white smokers. And we know that this is not by accident. It's the result of decades of targeted marketing by the tobacco industry. The industry has used menthol to make it easier to start and harder to quit. There was an opportunity for New York State to be the leader in a menthol-free world in this year's state budget. However, in the final negotiations, the ban on menthol cigarettes was removed, and menthol will continue to be sold in our stores. We've started a community spotlight project where we interview local community members about their experience with tobacco. We're doing this because we want the voices of community members to be heard above the falsehoods coming from the tobacco industry. Our first interview was with an Albany resident, Tammy Miller. Tammy and her family directly suffered from the tobacco industry's aggressive and successful marketing of menthol cigarettes to the Black community. She began smoking at a young age and was also exposed to secondhand smoke from her parents, who were both smokers. Tobacco use exacted an enormous toll on their health. We have also interviewed Rivka Caldwell, who stated, "I'm here for my family, and I'm here to tell a story, and it's not okay. It's not okay what the tobacco companies are doing to the Black community. I don't believe menthol-flavored tobacco is a choice for Black people, not at all. I feel like we were targeted, and it became a norm, and that's why we're suffering now as a community." Rivka suffered a pulmonary embolism at the age of 26 from tobacco use. She almost lost her life because the tobacco companies have systematically targeted African American communities with menthol advertising. We have the opportunity to listen to our community members and learn from their stories. We can take steps to make flavored tobacco products like menthol cigarettes less accessible and appealing. We will be sending our video interviews to you via email. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the chambers who would like to speak? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Ben Stevens, and I am the Senior Fire Protection Specialist with the Town of Colony Fire Services. Excuse me. Tonight, you will be voting on a measure which will provide funding to the Town of Guilderland, the Hill Towns, and the Town of Colony Fire Training Centers. This funding is desperately needed and will provide much-needed repairs and replacement of the fire training towers at Guilderland and Colony and upgrades to the facilities in the Hill Towns. The funding which you will provide to the Town of Colony will not only benefit the fire service of the town, but the fire service throughout the county. Several county-sponsored state fire training courses are conducted each year at our facility. In 2022, over 2,500 hours of county-sponsored state training was conducted at the Colony facility. This training benefited firefighters throughout the entire county. In addition to the fire service, local law enforcement and EMS agencies also use the facility and will benefit from the improvements. Your funding, in conjunction with funding from New York State and local governments, will provide state-of-the-art training facilities. This will allow for realistic scenarios, enhancing first responders' readiness to respond to emergencies. In Colony, we have identified a number of projects to improve the entire fire training facility. Your funding will not only allow for us to complete the replacement of our fire training tower, but also start other projects which will lead to vast improvements across the facility. Thank you to County Executive McCoy, Legislative Chair Joyce, the entire Albany County Legislature for your consideration. In addition, I'd like to thank Sheriff Apple and County Fire Coordinator Paris for their continued support.
There are no more speakers, and this concludes the public forum. Call the meeting to order. I like hitting this. I ask Legislator Rosano to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I will now call the roll. Beston. Here. Bergdorf.
Here.
Chapman. Here. Clay. Here. Clary. Here. Collins. Here. Camiso. Here. Cunningham. Here. Demolowitz. Here. Drake. Here. Efacoro. Here. Ethier. Here. Feeney. Here. Fine. Grimm. Here. Andrew Joyce. Ray Joyce. Kuhn. Here. Lakakis.
Yes.
Lockhart. Here. Muriello.
Here.
Mayo.
Here.
McLaughlin.
Here.
McLean Lane.
Here.
Miller.
Present.
O'Brien.
Here.
Purley.
Here.
Peter. Plosky. Reedy.
Here.
Reinhardt. Reinhardt.
Here.
Ricard.
Present, Madam Clerk.
Rosano. Simpson. Smith.
Here.
Tunney.
Here.
Ward. Whalen. Willingham. 33 present. The first order of business is the election of a temporary chair. Are there any nominations? Mr. Feeney?
Madam Clerk, I nominate Wanda Willingham as temporary chair.
Second, Bill. Legislator Willingham has been nominated. Oh, is there a second, Bill? Are there any other nominations for temporary chair? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? I'll ask Wanda Willingham to please take the chairperson's seat.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you and welcome to the June 12, 2023 meeting of the Albany County Legislature. My name is Bonnie Willingham and I will serve as tonight's chairperson. Before we get started, I want to ask for your support in a proclamation that is being passed around. It is the duty of public officials to prioritize the safety and well-being of residents. The month of June has been designated as Gun Violence Awareness Month, providing an opportunity to unite as a community, raise awareness, and take meaningful action to address the urgent issue of gun violence within our county. So this month promotes responsible gun ownership, supports evidence-based gun violence prevention strategies, and enhances access to mental health resources and support services for our residents within Albany County. I ask each of you to join us in this proclamation. Thank you. So now we will start with the first item under previous business.
Establishing the USA 250 Commission for the celebration of the 250th year following the American Revolution and independence of the United States.
Mr. Moriello.
Madam Chair, could I please ask that all the members of the minority conference be here as well?
We'll have a moment of minority conference. No. Dustin?
Can I be added, Madam Chair? Can I be added? Thank you.
So does everyone want to go on this? Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next one. Nicole?
Establishing a voter rights disclosure policy for all polling places managed by the Albany County Board of Elections.
Thank you. So the language of this is, it needs to be updated as it relates to the budget amendment, and it's to fix a typographical error. The amendment should be on your desk, so all those in favor on 152 with the updated language? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. We just did this.
Public hearing on proposed local law number D for 2023, a local law enacting a limited exemption from county real property taxes for properties located within the town of Guilderland, which are subject to qualified conservation easement agreements.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Number 196. We did 191. 191 is unanimous. 196, please.
Amending the Albany County Legislative Rules of Order for the limited purpose of creating a consent agenda process for distributing American Rescue Plan Act grant awards.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. We are now into current business. 199.
Authorizing a lease renewal agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration and related easements regarding the radar tower at 897 Waterville Shaker Road in the town of Colony.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Number 200, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Tracy Road Equipment regarding the purchase of a Hyundai wheel loader.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 201.
Rescinding resolution number 16 for 2023 and authorizing an agreement with Blue One Energy Equipment regarding the purchase and installation of fueling stations for the Department of Public Works, Queens and Knox subdivisions.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 202.
Authorizing a lease agreement with Highmark Blue Shield Ninny regarding corporate suite number 9 at the MVP Arena.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 203.
Authorizing a renewal agreement with New York State Office of General Services regarding the provision of cooling water at the MVP Arena.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 204.
Authorizing an assignment of the lease agreement for Pearl Street Convenience at the MVP Arena to Pearl Street Convenience, Kashif Habib Krushish.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 205.
Amending resolution number 197 for 2022 regarding corporate suite number 12 at the MVP Arena.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 206.
Authorizing utility easements to Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation and Verizon New York regarding the installation of utilities at 897 Waterville Shaker Road in the town of Colony.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 207.
Authorizing an agreement with the Capital District Transportation Committee regarding the Broadway Floor Resilient Multi-Modal Corridor Study.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 208.
Authorizing agreements with the City of Albany and the College of St. Rose for the purchase and installation of a new turf sports field at Hoffman Park in the City of Albany.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 209.
Amending resolution number 367 for 2022 regarding congregate meals services for seniors.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. 210.
Authorizing an agreement with Language Fundamentals regarding speech pathology services for Shaker Place Rehabilitation and Nursing Center.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 211.
Authorizing an agreement with Clinical Staffing Resources regarding licensed practical nurse and certified nursing assistant services.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 212.
Authorizing an agreement with Health Advocates Network regarding licensed practical nurse and certified nursing assistant services.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 213.
Amending resolution number 113 for 2021 as amended by resolution number 458 for 2021 regarding prevention education.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 214.
Amending the 2023 Crime Victim and Sexual Violence Center budget staff adjustments.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 215.
Amending resolution number 151 for 2019 regarding the statewide expansion of the Hurl Herring settlement.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 216.
Amending resolution number 74 for 2022 regarding the third council at first appearance grant.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 217.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services regarding the Fourth Counsel at First Appearance grant.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 218.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding the Aid to Defense program.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 219.
Amending Resolution Number 258 for 2018 regarding the Tobacco Enforcement Program.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 220.
Amending Resolution Number 440 for 2022 regarding the Closing the Gap with Social Detriments of Health grant.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 221.
Amending Resolution Number 371 for 2020 regarding the 2020 State Homeland Security Program grant.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 222.
Authorizing an agreement with the Capital District Transportation Committee regarding the development of a complete street symposium.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 223.
Authorizing an intergovernmental agreement regarding the Albany County Department of Health's Social Detriments of Health Accelerator Plan.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 224.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Department of Health regarding public health, strengthening infrastructure, workforce, and data systems funding.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 225.
Authorizing an agreement with Malinrot regarding the New York opioid settlement funds.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 226.
Authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Emergency Management Agency regarding the 2023 Port Security Grant Program Initiative.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 227.
Authorizing the submission of a grant application to the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services regarding the 2022 statewide inoperable communications grant targeted program.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. 228.
Authorizing the submission of a grant application to an agreement with the New York State Canal Corporation regarding reimbursement for marine patrol services.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 229.
Authorizing an agreement with Northern Rivers Family of Services regarding Raise the Age, Enhanced Case Management, and Community Support.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 230.
Authorizing intergovernmental agreements regarding the upgrading of volunteer fire training towers.
Yes. Ms. Lockhart?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to rise to say this weekend in my district, which is the Village of Colony, we had a very serious house fire. And luckily, there was no lives lost. Our fire department, Colony Fire Company, responded, were able to put the fire out and push it in the house was totally lost. I say this because I bet everybody in this room, every legislator, has been to a fire in the district and watched those firefighters work a fire and the exhaustion, we all know all the pounds and pounds of clothes that they wear and the hours that they put in to protect the many, many lives and property. And I just think that this is such a good investment in the future firefighters. These towers and what we're doing in just these three is so, so needed so that our firefighters, I know what I see when I go to a fire is how effective and how professional they are. And there's nothing more important than public safety. And that includes firefighting, as we all know. I want to thank, of course, Sheriff Apple and Albany County, Dan McCoy, executive, but I'd also like to thank our Albany County Fire Coordinator, Dirk Parrish, and his team with him. I've spoken to him and know the tremendous amount of hours he has put in to coordinate all of this. And we get to benefit by saying, aren't we great, we passed it. But I really think we should give them a round of applause for their hard work on this. And I think I speak for everybody here that public safety is of the utmost priority to this legislature and to this county, and I think we can all be very proud of that. So obviously, I'm very much in favor of this resolution. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Cleary.
I rise in support of this resolution. I visited the fire tower with Destiny and with Dustin Reedy and the town of Gilman and the fire department. I hope everybody supports this. I'd like to be added.
Mr. Purley.
I also rise in support for all of the reasons listed by my two colleagues earlier. Also because the tower that's going to be reconstructed in Gilderland is in my district, in the Northeast Industrial Park, in Gilderland Center. So this is not just a question of public safety, this is a question of economic development in that particular part of the county. I think our staff had asked that I be added as a sponsor, and I'm not sure that that got through. Okay, and I guess all the other minority members had asked to be included as well, but thank you very much.
Does everyone want to go on this?
Yes.
Thank you. I saw your hand up, Ms. McLean-Lane.
I was just asking to be added.
Okay, and also Ms. Moriello.
Yes, all of our members of our Congress.
Mr. Demowitz.
Thank you. I rise in support of this resolution and compliment the sheriff for his leadership and our county executive for his leadership on this project. But I just would like to speak on behalf of the city of Albany. You heard about, Colony, the hill towns, Gilderland. Well, actually, the city of Albany trains in colonies out. So I think that everybody who represents the city of Albany, I hope they support this tonight, because this is where our firefighters train. They put countless of hours. I've talked to many of our firefighters in the city, and they have nothing but great respect and praises for the use of the tower. So I hope all the members of the city also support this. Thank you.
Mr. Reinhardt.
When I read this proposed resolution, I noted that the Bethlehem Tower was not included. Wasn't sure why. Okay. Today I learned that it's in the works, and I look forward to supporting that as well for all the reasons everyone has stated. But I think it's a great service that you guys do, and the better trained people, the better for their own safety and for the safety of people like me who attend the house fire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there are no other comments, Mr. Grimm.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to say how difficult this was putting the financing together. This required money from state lawmakers, it required money from some municipalities, the town of Gilderland, and the fire districts, and then of course the county put in $900,000, which is pretty substantial, and it's been a lot of work on Jerry Parrish to put this all together, but it's going to happen tonight. And those towers the last 20 to 25 years, and the current towers are just not useful anymore. So this is a pretty remarkable example of coordination among many municipalities, and I'm glad that all of us can be part of it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
If there are no other comments, we'll take a vote right now. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Number 231.
Approving the Department of Public Works collective bargaining agreement with CSEA Local 1000, Department of Public Works Local 801, and amending the 2023 Albany County budget.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. 232.
Approving the Department of General Services collective bargaining agreement with CSEA Local 1000, Department of General Services Local 801, and amending the 2023 Albany County budget.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 233.
Authorizing an agreement with Albany Housing Authority regarding a sublease of premises located at 155 Clinton Avenue in the city of Albany.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. 234.
Authorizing the distribution of mortgage taxes for the period October 1, 2022 through October 31st, 2023.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 235.
Authorizing an agreement with Konica Minolta regarding the purchase of ballot printers for primary, general, and special elections.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 236.
Amending the 2023 water purification budget, equipment repair.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 237.
Amending the 2023 Albany County budget, New York State Health Care and Mental Hygiene Worker Bonus Program, vesting period 3.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 238.
Rescinding the conveyance of real property pursuant to resolution number 398 for 2019 and authorizing the conveyance of real property located at New Salem Road in the town of New Scotland.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 239.
Amending resolution number 506 for 2017 by rescinding the conveyance of 343 First Street in the city of Albany and authorizing the conveyance of this property to another grantee.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 240.
Rescinding the conveyance of real property pursuant to resolution number 481 for 2017 and authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 17604 Stevens Road in the town of Knox.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. 241.
Public hearing on proposed local law number F for 2023, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 106 of the Albany County Code, setting forth requirements for location of substance abuse treatment facilities within Albany County.
Please refer 241 to the Law and the Health Committees. 242.
Public hearing on proposed local law number G for 2023, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 242 of the Albany County Code to prohibit the use, smoking, and vaping of tobacco or cannabis products at county properties and in county vehicles.
Thank you. Please refer to the Health and Law Committees. 243.
An appointment of a director to fill a vacancy on the Albany County Business Development Corporation Board of Directors.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Local law C.
Yeah. Local law number C for 2023, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending local law number 2 for 1975 as amended, the Albany County Senior Citizens Tax Exemption Law.
We'll have a long roll call on this. I'm sorry. Mr. Beston, Ms. McLaughlin, Ms. McLean Lane, Mr. Collins. It looks like, does everyone want to be added?
Yes.
Please make note of that.
Beston. Bergdorf. Chapman. Clay. Clary. Collins. Camiso. Cunningham. Demolowitz. Drake. Efacquaro. Ethier. Feeney. Grimm. Kuhn. Lakakis. Lockhart. Mariello. Mayo. McLaughlin.
Yes, may I rise? I've been raising my hand. Would you do?
Let me finish the roll call first, and then you can, after the roll call. McLean Lane.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Purley.
Yes.
Plosky.
Yes.
Reedy.
Yes.
Reinhardt. Ricard.
Aye, Madam Clerk.
Rosano.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Tunney.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Willingham.
Yes,
Unanimous.
thank you. The chair recognizes Ms. McLaughlin.
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for their support for this legislation. I think that it sends a great message to the seniors of our county that we care about them being stable. Any financial relief we can provide for them, I think it's an opportunity to contribute to the quality of life for them. And anytime you can give people an opportunity to stay in their own home without fiscal problems, I think that it goes a long way to keep them happy and to keep them in place. And we know that we have a lot of communities that are growing as North communities. We're actually occurring retirement communities in the county. And I think that this piece of legislation will assist in that continued proliferation of those communities. Thank you so much for your support.
Local law F. Excuse me.
Local law number F for 2023, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 106 of the Albany County Code, setting forth requirements for location of substance abuse treatment facilities within Albany County.
Please refer local law F to Law and Health Committees. Local law G.
Local law number G for 2023, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 242 of the Albany County Code to prohibit the use, smoking, and vaping of tobacco or cannabis products at county properties and in county vehicles.
Please refer local law G to Health and Law Committee. Mr. Bergdorf?
I just would like to thank whoever is responsible for supplying us with the American flags.
That's
all on our desk.
That's from the chairman's office.
That's from the chairman's office. Well, thank you very much to the chairman's office.
We have two additional Rule 11 motions tonight. The first is an appropriation of ARPA funding to the Community Loan Fund. Can I have a motion to invoke Rule 11? Mr. Feeney? Second. And second by Ms. McLean Lane. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Clerk, please read resolution number 244.
Authorizing the disbursement of American Rescue Plan funding and an agreement with the Community Loan Fund to distribute small business grants.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Finally, we have one more Rule 11 and another appropriation of ARPA funding. This one for the Workforce Development Board. Can I have a motion to invoke the Rule 11? Mr. Feeney, motion, second by Ms. McLean Lane. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Clerk, please read resolution 245.
Authorizing the disbursement of American Rescue Plan funding and an agreement with the Capital Region Workforce Development Board to provide on-the-job training in Albany County.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Mr. Coon.
Was there some proclamation or something when you play around? You never got it back.
Sent it last week. I'll get it to you now.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to adjourn? motion from Mr. Cleary, got a second from Mr. Clayton. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.